Today, I'll be discussing two CSS features, ClipPath and MaskImage. These features allow developers to create non-rectangular designs and visually interesting layouts. They help websites move beyond just the traditional rectangular box design. So, let me set the scene. The problem with a lot of modern websites and web elements is that they're rectangular. So, like, think of images or buttons or things that you see on websites. Even just whole sections of text or anything like that. They are often rectangular, and that can make them feel a little repetitive and less like engaging visually. So by default, that's kind of what happens when you create an element on a web page. Rectangles are, of course, really useful, but modern websites often will use more creative shapes and just to spice things up and to just improve the visual appeal of a website. This also just helps the user feel more engaged when they're not bored. And the sad thing is that with the way today is, people can't be bored for more than 5 seconds, so they need something to keep them engaged. And that's where ClipPath helps come in. The ClipPath property, it defines what portion of an element is visible. So an example of that would be circle and ClipPath circle 50%. So that in this way, your element would appear as a circle instead of a rectangle. You kind of like think of it as like using scissors to cut out a shape from a piece of paper. The browser basically just hides everything outside of the selected shape and leaves the rest of it visible. So the built-in ones that ClipPath supports are circle, ellipses, polygon, and inset. So here's an example of a polygon one. You can change the percentages to show how much of the image or whatever you're setting. By doing this one in particular, this would create a triangle. CSS provides several built-in shape options, and developers can also use custom polygons by specifying points, like in this one. And this allows for unique and creative designs, and really helps people just shape their website to be visually appealing and more of what more standoutish. The next thing that they can do is a mask image. So a mask image controls which parts of an element are visible using an image or gradient. So unlike ClipPath, mask image can create smooth transitions and transparency effect. ClipPath is more of like, here's like sharp, clearly defined boundaries, which is good, but mask image helps it use like fades and just different visual effects. So it's just another way to kind of change it up. Some of the big differences between ClipPath and MaskImage is that ClipPath creates shapes, it has sharper edges, and has really simple geometry. It's also very easy to understand, though. It's not very complicated. MaskImage, it can do transparency effects, it has smooth fades, and complex visual effects. It's also more flexible, more things you can do with it, but on that same side of that spectrum, it's also harder to work with. Although the features are similar, they solve different problems. ClipPath focuses on shape creation, while MaskImages focuses on controlling the visibility and transparency of an object. Really good uses for this are like buttons or hero images, product showcases, portfolio websites, decorative pages, and that just helps build more interest in your page. Helps it look more modern. Helps it look more interesting. It also can help you just have a website that's more unique. Something that a lot of websites try to do is to stand out from the traditional designs, and those are especially popular for portfolios and for marketing. For an example project, you have your standard image, and then you can clip it using a clip path and then specifying the shape. And doing this gets you a circular profile picture. Common use is for profile pictures. And that way you don't have to edit an image in some design software. Instead, it just creates the effect based on the image that you give it. It does have some limitations, of course, but it also has some advantages. So like we talked about before, has great creative layouts, helps you to create more unique and responsive designs, and you don't have to edit your images in a particular way. With some other software, you can do it all there. But it's obviously more complex CSS to actually put some of that stuff in. And then you have to also make sure that like your browsers and different devices will view it in the same way, because they don't always work the exact same way browser to browser with reading CSS. It also can make it harder to debug, just to find the things like that. But still, as you test it across multiple browsers and devices, you can still achieve consistent results. Some key takeaways. Just going back over them again. ClipPath creates custom shapes with like the harsher edges. Mask image controls visibility and transparency. And they both just allow it to not be rectangles everywhere and let you have more interesting websites. They give more creative control over how content is displayed, and they make it possible to create engaging modern layouts while keeping designs responsive and flexible. So it's a great tool, and it just helps us make websites more interesting and engaging.